Hello and welcome to IGPP Expert Talks. I'm Heena Goswami, Editorial Consultant with IGPP, Institute for Governance, Policies and Politics, New Delhi. In our ongoing series about AI, to discuss its various impacts and implications for the society, today we are joined by Ms. Tanvi Lall. Ms. Tanvi is the Director of Strategy, People Plus AI, where she focuses on strategy and planning for the institution. She has done her master's in biotechnology and management from the Carnegie Mellon University, Tepper School of Business, and her MBA from University of California. Welcome to IGPP Expert Talks, Tanvi.
Thanks, Tina. It's very nice to be here.
So let's dive right into the questions. How do you envisage the relationship between innovation and AI? Do you think that AI will emerge as the primary catalyst that will propel India towards becoming a global innovation hub?
Yeah, good question. See, we want to see a future being built where technology is being designed in service of humanity and not the other way around. Our thesis is that Indians need more AI per capita. So all the good work that has already been done by the DPI builders and in the India DPI stack, we feel AI can really accelerate that. So while DPIs lower the cost and the friction to access, right, to technology, what today AI can do is it makes understanding and generating very easy, and it's commoditized that. So with AI, we feel you can now create millions of intelligent agents. You can create bots. You can create chatbots and tools that are interoperable. And we feel with the DPI approach, you can actually now take a lot of these tools that you're building to more Indians, and you can actually now help Indians achieve and unlock some of their potential, which could be enabled by AI or enabled for and to build more AI for Indians. So that's our approach. One thing that we are very firm on is that we feel, AI in itself is not the only tool. AI's strategy has to be use case led, and happy to share more about that later.
So Tanuj Bhojwani, head of People Plus AI initiative, in an interview with the Analytics India magazine, had said that he believes that in a decade, India is going to be a AI use case capital of the world because of its huge population, diversity, languages, and the need for specialized tools, whether it be in healthcare, education, or other fields. How far do you agree with this, and what would be its implications?
No, absolutely. I'm a firm believer of this thesis, and all our work is actually directed towards building this use case garden, right? Basically, identifying problem statements that are of importance and relevance in the very complex Indian context, and really trying to validate these problem statements and then design AI solutions and tools to basically solve for some of these problems. But see, another thing, the implication of this is that when you are doing public spirited AI, right? AI which is being built for the public, you cannot only focus on current challenges. When you think about the AI sort of dialogue and conversations that are happening right now, it's very focused on, oh, are the right data sets available? Oh, do we have Indian foundational models? Or, oh, do we have compute, which is expensive and inaccessible? Those are the sort of things we say right now. But let's say we want to get a sense state where AI is being used for public good. We really have to think of what are the problems going to be in 5 years and then solve for this. So the implication bit of your question, right, is to think about how can we, let's say, use synthetic data or curate better data sets easily. It should be around, oh, models are maybe there need to be more relevant models or more benchmarking for the Indian context. But in a way, models are purely a recipe. We don't think that's going to stop innovation. We do think compute as a foundational infrastructure is very important to enable. That means all AI runs on compute, right? It's basically, it boils down to that. So that capacity of compute infrastructure does need to become more accessible and more affordable. So it's really, you have to keep a long-term view in mind, and you have to identify the problems that will help you not just make the solution today, but scale it in 5 to 10 years. And that's the way we sort of try to prioritize the problem statements that we are picking up.
Uh, so please elaborate a little on this, that, is AI only like another technological advancement that can help humanity, or is it a force multiplier for that can advance humanity's welfare by multitudes?
So, I mean, it's definitely a force multiplier, but I'll tell you how we go about it, right? Force multiplier, yes, but AI has to be tied to very clear problem statements and use cases. And I'll tell you why. So this whole question about models, compute, data sets, workforce, talent, right? All these dimensions that we talk about, uh, they're all fine as a conversation to have. But what a clear use case does is that you can now really start identifying what are the needs to solve in that space. So you basically do a couple of things. You can now start looking at smaller models, which could be, built to solve in that particular domain of, let's say, health or legal. You start looking at higher quality data sets or smaller data sets. You can also start creating those smaller data sets versus just scraping the data that exists today. You start thinking about policies to enable that domain, not just making solutions, but also adopting the AI solutions. You can think about being more compute efficient. So we do feel it's a force multiplier, but the way to do this is to clearly kind of design the use case that you're building it for, understand who are you building for, what is required on the other end. And when that helps you solve for all the sort of inputs, right, that is used to build an AI tool. You'll get the right data set, you'll get the right compute, you'll go for the better model. You'll also, in terms of talent and workforce, right, people who will be using this, you'll keep a user in mind when you are now making the tool versus working in the abstract, working purely just at the technology level and not connecting it to an actual situation and domain. So yeah.
Shed light on some of the initiatives of People Plus AI, and how will those lead to establishment of comprehensive innovations ecosystem in the country, and how will they also foster AI for societal benefit?
Yeah, absolutely. So see, on this front, right, the way we try to do it is, we're a small team of about 15 people, but we're a completely community-led organization. So what we do have is we have, students, young professionals, seasoned professionals who work across AI and, other domains, who are a part of our community and actively work with us on some of these projects. So that's one part of it. Nothing we build is purely from the 15 people that are on our team. We work as anchors for the projects, but each team has 10 to 15 to 20 people who are owning pieces of the puzzle. So that's one way in which we engage the community and try to get more people who, let's say, are, health experts or social scientists, get more familiar and energized thinking about AI. So that's one way. The second is we work with partner organizations in the field. So the minute you think of a problem statement and an AI functionality, right, which could work for that problem statement, you build it up to some level of fidelity. So you basically hack a product or a service together, and then you deploy it at some small scale. So one thing that we do is we work with these field organizations, which means that these people already have, a footprint. Either they could be having community persons or agents or people already in the field who then use the AI tool in the field, and this helps build confidence that this tool could see traction and will actually improve a particular outcome in their domain. And something that we're doing right now, right? We have this product functionality called Jan Ki Baat, which basically means Jan Ki Baat means listening at scale. And we are trying to build out this functionality where you have a bot which is smart, empathetic, it can be multilingual, multimodal, and can talk to you in your context. So, for example, if you are availing a government scheme and you are eligible for something and you have received it, that particular government department can basically call you up and it'll be the bot talking to you. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels like, and they're asking you questions in your language, in your dialect. They understand who you are. So it makes a conversation very easy. But what AI does is now you can have millions of these conversations happening concurrently. So a big part of our work is not just validating the use case and designing the solution in isolation, but working with field partners who can kind of get us that traction, that feedback that this is working or this is not working. So the goal is to have a use case garden of 50 to 100 use cases which have been validated. And some of these also built out and deployed at some small scale. And see, the thing is that if a functionality works, that's the beauty of AI, you can very well apply it in your domain. So this Jan Ki Baat functionality, right, of listening and scale, we are now planning to run a cohort of project teams and startups and entrepreneurs who could be applying it in their domain. Listening at scale could be applicable in customer service. It could be applicable in having meaningful healthcare conversations. We talk all the time, right? So there are multiple domains, but that's the way we go about it.
So the government recently issued a directive to tell platforms to prevent bias, discrimination, or any threat to electoral integrity through
Yeah.
AI and related algorithms. Do you think that this can potentially stifle innovation and creativity, or is it a commendable step towards responsible AI development?
See, we are of a firm belief that checks and balances are required in any system. There are multiple initiatives that are being spearheaded globally where we work as partners or we are engaged in those dialogues around fair and responsible AI. So we think that's definitely of importance. I think what is very exciting is that the government is very open to having these dialogues now with startups, organizations, and really understanding how and what they want to build in AI and working with them to arrive at policies and directives, right, which would work for the actual ecosystem. So in fact, something that we have just started today is, at the behest of METI, we are trying to start a series of AI dialogues. We're saying anyone who wants to run an experiment, innovate, develop an AI solution, tell us what you're doing. Tell us how and what policy you are looking for, or how is something hurting you right now. Tell us what your problem is. And the goal is to kind of take, as opposed to, one shiny headline in this newspaper or just a LinkedIn post here or there. The idea is to have a more comprehensive, collated series of discussions with the government, where, if as opposed to just one startup saying this is my problem, can we have consolidate a lot of these opinions and present a more, I would say, cohesive view and ask of the government. So, we definitely want, because we work at this sort of center, right, of government, startups, volunteers, AI enthusiasts. We feel that we're in that position right now where we can actually get a lot of these opinions and asks together. And I would actually urge even listeners of your podcast, if you are looking to innovate with AI, you should definitely fill out this form, which is available on our website, and put your ask in, right? Because the goal is to include everyone in this conversation.
Other than the fact that government is open for dialogue, what other measures do you believe that the government and policymakers should take to ensure that to foster an environment where industry innovation thrives while also ensuring the safe development and deployment of AI models?
So we really think policy can play a very big role. in making private markets innovate more, making access to some of these solutions that's coming out more equitable and open. So in general, see, our thesis is that private markets will have to grow for AI to really become a reality. And the way government can do this is, see, primarily, I think around two work streams. So when you talk about compute and data, right, this is almost an input cost that goes into making an AI product. So one thing is around how can you build or foster the building of compute infrastructure in India, or let's say a public cloud, uh, and thinking of ways, basically design guardrails such that people are easily able to innovate. So set up data centers, be providers in the compute stack, and do this in a way such that they lower the barrier to entry, basically to get into the market of compute, uh, and should not be fearful of the government, but should try to utilize government for various asks. So, for example, we know that more and more GPU capacity is required to run AI workloads. And we know that there are data centers in huge capacity coming up in India. One idea is, could the government actually be could be that party which kind of centralizes all the procurement that needs to happen for GPUs in India, and be that sort of bargaining body, right, which talks to these large firms on the other end, as opposed to all these firms doing it independently and in isolation. So compute is a big place where we feel there are more players needed, and the government can make it easier for more players to come in and potentially help them negotiate better with foreign companies. The second is data, right? We all say data is required. We need good, reliable data. We need high impact data. Can we actually think about identifying what are those high impact data sets? And I think the government in its position is best suited to do this, right? To identify the best sort of the high impact data sets that would be required for AI to actually foster innovation in India, right? And this is where government subsidies and government incentivizing people to collect, share data becomes important. So one part is purely around these input costs for compute and data. The second piece is around funds and also driving adoption of AI. So see, AI is a capital intensive business, right? To start a company, to get compute capacity, to get access to data, to get even access to the right talent and a workforce, engineering talent is expensive. So can the government think about tax schemes or other incentive schemes where more and more conglomerates who have that kind of fund, who have those kind of funds to invest more, right? To invest more in companies who are either building these solutions or schemes so that they themselves as users use more of these AI solutions, or to even train their staff and their workforce to use more of these AI solutions that are getting built in India. So I think the government can be very essential in creating and bolstering, right, this demand for AI. See, another place is AI is a very known concept to technology savvy companies or enthusiasts who are familiar with this space, right? What about traditional businesses or enterprises who have been doing business in a particular way? How do we incentivize them to adopt AI? So that's another place where you could think of policy or recommendation strategies, right, which could come from the government to help people to adopt more and more AI in their lives, professional and personal lives. So we feel that's two places, and we're also we have a very active policy working group at People Plus AI, which is again it's made up of policy makers, it's made up of lawyers who think along these lines and are helping craft very sort of I'm going to say measured strategies that we can actually take to the government, or let's say to some of these regulatory bodies for their particular domains.
Thank you so much, Tanvi, for joining us, and thank you for your insightful comments.